Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of Worcester Council Theater 3000, the Decision Desk. It's decision Worcester, and we've got a mayoral debate starting in about 5 minutes, a little more than 5 minutes, and boy, oh boy, that's just what this city needs right now. A mayoral debate.
More unhealthy debate.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if this one's going to be any more productive than the ones that the Chamber of Commerce has been putting on. At least it's not moderated by like Gary Rosen and Hank Stoltz, so that's a plus.
Right.
This one is WGBH. They're doing the debate out of their new Worcester bureau, which is pretty interesting. And they're letting us streaming it, but on the condition that I say that their stream is not an endorsement of any candidate. It is totally non-biased, and so are we.
We should probably just throw in there too that it's also not an endorsement of us, I would assume.
Yeah. I think that's
extremely safe to say.
Yeah, I think that they want no part in anything that we do.
In fact, if they did endorse us, I would actually say that they should be defunded and shut down.
Yeah, that would be a big mistake. Yeah, tonight's debate is getting moderated by Sam Turkin.
Nice.
Just one guy, WGBH reporter, and interesting to see the sort of tact he takes versus what we've seen from the other forums.
Right.
Yeah, so I think they're just going to sit back, see what these candidates have to say, see whether or not Donna Calorio is going to come away with the win, because the whole left wing of the city is split between 3 candidates, and she has her people. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like her people are just going. She's splitting people with Joe Petty. I mean, Joe Petty, whether he likes it or not, is now like right-wing darling in the city.
Yeah, it's true.
So
yeah, see if he takes the anyone but Christian approach. This is going to be a lot nicer, chiller, easier than the stream tomorrow for the city council meeting, which I think has the potential to be the worst one ever held. Mo Bergman's Israel resolution is certainly going to inspire a useful, necessary, and productive debate. And it won't go off the rails at all. No, we won't be on the stream till 11 o'clock midnight for sure.
Arguing over international issues, a thing that he said we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, well, at least we'll see who outs themselves as a hooting, chortling fascist. That'll be interesting. I have a few people I think that are definitely going to do that. So we'll get to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I was gonna say everyone, blood pressure should be thrown around.
Uh-oh.
Billy,
is that me or is that
no,
Brian?
I think you and I are fine.
It was
Brian.
Me.
Yeah.
They tried to shut me down because I said that people are gonna get hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool effect though. It's kind of like a pedal.
Yeah. One day we'll figure out how to have an actual stream that works the entire time. But maybe we'll save that for year 4 or 5 of this program. So for now, we're just going to keep doing it the way we've been doing it.
Fair.
It's crazy how long we've been doing this. Also, by the way, when did we start? We started doing this in 2021, I believe. Either 2021. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a long time though, like years, which is crazy.
Time goes by faster when you're older, Bill. I don't keep track of anything anymore.
Yeah.
It's in decades. That's a really cute face that Brian is frozen with.
I know. So cute.
Get that.
Brian's our host tonight, so this is going to go great if his internet is what we're relying on to watch the debate. We will see. Does this have anything to do with the fact that I am in the back end, the Woot Nanny back end? Is that complicating things? Okay.
I mean, it's never complicated anything before when you've been in the Woot Nanny back end. So
no, yeah, it's always been very pleasant.
No, I mean, well, they haven't even they're not going to start for another few minutes. You know, what are we going to do? We got charter internet in the city. They're purposely keeping us disinformed and shut down.
Yeah.
So I shared the link with you guys. If mine goes down, then just pull it up, and then we'll do it that way. And whoever survives will keep carrying the flag, and then that's just how we do things here.
We'll get through it.
We'll get through it together.
Yeah. Hopefully this forum is not very long, like an hour and a half, 2 hours. If it goes longer than 2 hours, that is illegal, and I'm going to be pressing charges.
Is this one open to the public? Is that
I don't know. What do you guys think as far as like questions?
A lot of housing for sure. Environmental policy. This is going to be like someone who's not like a weird townie asking questions. So they're going to be more in line with like what City Hall should be focused on, as opposed to like, whatever's going on at Red Metro, Worcester, or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, did you see, speaking of Red Metro, did you see that Kevin Cassen is out dealing mushrooms on the street?
Really? Is that what they wrote?
Kevin posted a picture on either Twitter or Instagram. And it was like out knocking doors, and he found like a really nice. I think it was either oysters or chicken of the woods. I can't. It was like the number 1 or number 2 most popular like edible mushroom.
Yeah.
And like they put out this big release about Kevin Cassen with like selling drugs while canvassing for politicians.
Dude, that's so cool.
And I can't tell whether or not they've become their own troll account or if it's just impossible to tell. It
really is like it's beyond satire or parody at this point.
Yeah.
Like at least Turtle Boy had a following and was like doing stuff that people wanted to see. This guy's like trying to do the same thing, but he's got like 10 followers. Like at best, he gets a small handful of people engaging with whatever he posts, but he just keeps doing it. It's crazy.
Bill, it looks like the stream is on, and Brian is not. Oh, there he is.
We're useless without Travis. Everybody, I've been saying it for decades. We got live mics already, so we should be momentarily.
Now, will we be able to hear it or see it in a way that's useful? That remains to be seen.
That is an excellent question. And
candidates, as I told
the candidates
before we started, we want it to be informal. So every question will include an open period of rebuttal and discussion, but we won't allow filibustering or allow candidates to talk above each other. We don't have a lot of time, only about an hour, so we'll get to it before we get into questions.
Bill Coleman in the center.
Give the candidates an opportunity to introduce themselves. We'll go in order. We arrange the
1 hour. That's awesome.
Yeah. So Can you guys hear that okay?
Yeah, a little louder would be okay.
You got it. And in the comments, let us know if you need.
They posted this last debate. I'm excited to be running for mayor. I think the reality
Guillermo looking fucking fly as hell.
Back in April as a much needed choice. My hope is that we are really moving our city forward, but I believe new leadership is needed in order to do that. I think it's time for the next generation to really start taking their seat at the table. I believe very clearly that my lived experiences are how I lead, and I want to make sure that those lived experiences that are not unique to residents here in the city of Worcester are brought to the decision-making table. I grew up in the 3rd floor of triple deckers throughout the city. We'd bop around when rent prices would go up. So many residents can relate to that. I really understand how the struggle actually is. My parents worked very hard for the little that we had. And the reality is that now in the year of 2023, that struggle still exists in our city. too many of our residents are fighting to survive and not to thrive. So that's why I'm running for mayor.
Ms. Calorio?
Hi, I'm Donna Calorio, and I'm just finishing up my second term on the city council. I've been vice chair of the city council as well. I also spent 2 terms as a school committee member, which gives me a unique, perspective because I've already served on the school committee, so I understand what the schools go through. I have been a lifelong resident of Worcester, also
That's
brought
so
up in
weak.
a triple decker. I 30
I have
years I
lots of
taught at
experience in the
Worcester
job I'm
Community
not
College
seeking.
as a psychology and sociology professor. I'm a businesswoman in a family business. We employ over 100 people from all different types of walks of life. And my focus really is affordability. I'd like to keep Worcester, and I focus on keeping Worcester affordable because I'd like the people that work in the city to be able to live in the city. And I basically believe Worcester is a great place to bring up your children and to live. And I just love the city of Worcester. Thank you.
Next candidate, Mr. Coleman.
Hi, I'm Bill Coleman, candidate for mayor, candidate for Worcester City Council at large. I grew up in a generation where we had President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. I remember as a young kid being very impressed with President Kennedy and Senator Edward Kennedy. I had the opportunity in 1976
Dude,
to work
Bill
in
Coleman's
Washington,
speech has not
D.C.
changed
as
one
the
bit.
administrative aide to former U.S. Senator Edward W. Brooke. It was a great experience. Yeah, and working for the senator and working in Washington, I had a chance to be a federal grant writer and to learn the inner and outer workings of government.
Yeah, the internet without Travis just ain't the same.
From
Yeah.
a national basis. You
It'll be a
know,
little rough.
returned to Worcester to finish my education at Worcester State College and, you know, got involved in the community, served on the board of directors of the Worcester Public Library, was commission that helped develop our senior center, and look forward to serving the city.
Tonight, the city council at large, just want to continue the momentum of the city of Worcester.
Oh,
I see a
man.
great city, a city that had a lot of successes, earned the trust of the voters, and he trusts me not to send the city backwards. I've been on the side of one of the things that people struggle with now is balance, and we need collaboration in order to make this city successful. I haven't been on the dissenting side of a 10-to-1 vote. People think probably too moderate. However, I think you need to be even keeled in order to be is the key to the success of the city of Worcester, which leads to
That's such a funny way to campaign. I've never made a stand. I've always gone with the majority.
Go to if you want to
Who
go
cares,
fast,
dude?
go alone. If you want to go
Never made a
together,
bold-fashioned
go
decision.
together. So, and I just want to thank.
I always have
again,
mayonnaise on my
Ambassador
sandwiches.
November 7th for their vote.
Okay.
As a
I
frontline
promise to do
social worker,
nothing better
I
or
know
worse.
First, not trickle down to everyday people. We've been too focused on downtown and the ballpark district and not focused enough on our local neighborhoods and their
Oh, man.
Bill, do you want to see if you can pull up the stream on your end?
Yeah, I just have to figure out how.
Okay. Just bring it on your phone and hold the phone up in front of it.
Yeah, right? Oh, man.
economic policy.
Uh,
I think that the same old leadership style is failing. Our housing prices are skyrocketing. Crime and mental health challenges are before us. As a social worker with a clinical background and elected official of 8 years, has been a part of this renaissance and a part of our positive movement. I'm uniquely positioned to lead this city forward. I'm known to ask the tough questions and then get to the proven solutions by working with my colleagues and running for mayor so that we and us can write the next chapter in Worcester's history together to build a safe, sustainable, and affordable city where multi generations can remain and support one another. It's important that we center our youth, folks that want to age in place with dignity, our educators, and that's why I'm running for a historic campaign to be mayor.
Thank you, Mr. King. Okay, we're going to get into the questioning. It's no secret, as some of you mentioned, all of you mentioned, Worcester is suffering from a significant shortage of affordable housing. Median rents have skyrocketed, fueling more homelessness and forcing other longtime residents to move elsewhere. Mr. Petty, the city is providing some financial assistance to help more people afford housing here. But what do you believe are some concrete steps Worcester can take to stem this surge in housing insecurity?
One of the issues is housing. The state has failed over the last several years to
Yo.
produce enough housing. I think you have to work with the state and hope they're going to be coming out with their housing
Yeah,
plan
one of the issues
and
of
the
housing
bonding
is
bill
housing.
soon. And we need to build more housing for everyone in all types of classes here in the city of Worcester. One of the things I did was that I asked one of my inauguration speeches, look at the three deckers. We have about 2,000 to 3,000 units that went empty at that time. And we put $5 million. We got a federal grant. We got Harry Chandler helped with some money for that. Look at the three deckers and how you can renovate them and bring them up to code. And that's where you can, at least that will provide some of the housing issues. We just made an announcement about down pays assistance of up to $25,000, which is up from $5,000. And also for assist landlords so they can, if they lock into affordable housing, that they'll be getting a grant from the city of Worcester. This is going to be the biggest issue that we're facing going forward, and I think everybody's concentrating on affordable housing because nobody, if you talk to people, they're afraid their children won't be able to buy a house in the city of Worcester.
So, other candidates, would you care to respond to that question as well?
I'd love to.
Mr. King, you'll follow.
Sure.
You'll follow Mr. King. Sorry.
You know, I would like to say that, you know, one of the tools that we have is inclusionary zoning. I've been pushing for inclusionary zoning for some time. I partner with the Housing Coalition. The Planning Board unanimously supported a more generous affordability and inclusionary zoning. Mayor Petty voted for less affordable options. You know, I think one of the things that we need to do, and I filed an order on, is that we have to look at a feasibility study of what exactly is what exactly is affordable housing for the city of Worcester. You know, we have units. We know that for a single person for a 2-bedroom, you have to make $65,000 a year to live here. If you're on minimum wage, you have to work 80 hours. So we have to take a look at minimum wage, supporting that in the state level, but we can't continue to just wait for the state. Our accessory dwelling units, we have to support that by right with no restrictions. And we have to lean on evidence-based research here, not just anecdotal stories from developers, big-time developers that are coming into our city and not doing right by the folks that live here.
Mr. Coleman.
One of the things that I'd like to see happen is an audit of land in the city of Worcester, buildable land for buildable housing. I'd like to see the city council recommend to the city manager that we do an audit. At one time in Worcester, you can go to the fire department on Grove Street and ask for, is there any available starter houses? Those are housing that might have been vacant and abandoned. People died without a will or people died without family. And to find what parcels do we have available that we can convert into affordable housing, maybe fix up that housing through a grant and then auction it off through some type of lottery so that families and individuals can have a chance at these new properties. That's an innovative idea that hasn't been suggested that I would strongly suggest to help relieve us on our housing crisis.
Ms. Gloria, you can go
Okay.
first.
Thank you. So I think the key here is a balance. I think we need a balance, and we have to look to this through what I call a common sense lens. So we have to encourage developers to come in and build, and we have to make sure that we can balance that with those that need housing. So one of the things that we've done, we have 2,000, I think approximately 2,000 units right now coming to market, both market rate, both affordable. We've put some money in, and I supported very much home ownership, and I think that we've seen a lot of good statistics on them when someone buys their own home, and their mortgage is generally less than if they can rent it, so they have some control over their finances. And I also think that, I voted for the inclusionary zoning because I think that's another tool in our toolbox. I don't think it's the end all be all. I think that we have to look continually at different ways to balance things.
That's why I voted to
city
make it
moving forward.
useless.
Thank you.
Doug, I think one of the important things that we need to touch on is the fact that developers are coming regardless. The city of Worcester is thriving. It is an attraction point for folks, not just in the area, but statewide and regionally. And I think that that's what we need to make sure we're honing in on. I want to make sure that we're building up our state to city relationships. Mayor Petty alluded to the fact that the state has failed. And I understand that. But the reality here is that we have to ensure that we aren't just an afterthought for our state, which unfortunately seems to be happening. So I want to make sure that we're reigniting that relationship between the state and the city. I also want to note the fact that 52% of our residents are renters. That's a problem. We talk about affordable housing, but oftentimes we don't talk about the fact that a pathway to home ownership doesn't exist in the city. The average age here in the city of Worcester is 31 years old. I'm 29. Do you know how many of my friends who live here in the city of Worcester are talking about home ownership? None. Because it's not affordable, because we're not pushing our city to ensure that we're talking to developers when they come in and say, hey, we are a community first oriented city. And that's the type of lens that we should be taking when it comes to the future of affordable housing in the city.
We don't have much more time for this question specifically, but would anybody else care to add on to?
That was
I'd like
a
to
pointless
rebut a little bit
exchange.
on this.
Okay.
Yeah, I like this
Basically,
format
inclusionary
because it
zoning, we
reminds
need
me
8
of the
votes
news
to get it.
programs on
Otherwise, we would've had
WTVH
nothing.
from the early 80s
I
that
know
nobody
there were
watched
people
because
wanted
you
to go
didn't learn
40 to
anything.
50% of AMI, and he even said, Council King even said he could have a developer come in at 50% AMI. Well, we've had one developer come in so far, and they're rethinking their position of whether or not they're going to do affordable housing here in the city of Worcester. And the state is also, if you're an MBTA district, the state's each city has to do an economic development study to ensure that you're not too restrictive on allowing affordable housing here in the city of Worcester.
I should note that this next question we're going to get into ties into the housing, but Mr. King, if you want to add.
Sure. I'd like to
quickly.
rebut that. I'll just say, my colleagues here, Donna Calorio and Joe Petty, in the middle of a housing crisis, voted for less affordability in our inclusionary zoning. It went against housing experts' recommendations. And as far as, developers not coming in at this time, we produced 5,000 units. We've given tax cuts before the city was able to move forward due to resistance and say, hey, we're giving you millions of dollars in tax breaks. You should give us some affordability so our residents can continue to live here.
Ms. Gloria, if you want to.
I was just going to
Well-
say, I heard the stats too, that we only have one person that's willing to come to the table after we voted for the inclusionary zoning. Let's just look at the common sense thing there. Really, was it that we have the inclusionary zoning and everybody wanted to get them, get their housing units at least in the process? So, I mean, we have to balance
my
things.
God.
We're going to move on to the next question. There's been a lot of
What
talk,
does that mean?
quote unquote,
No
about
idea.
the Worcester Renaissance. The Worcester
Oh
Renaissance.
boy.
And the development boom here in Worcester in recent years. Some people say these projects have made Worcester more of an attractive city to live in and visit. Other people tell me, well, it could be the beginning of gentrification and displacement. This one is for you, Mr. King, as I said. Kind of ties into the whole housing issue, but how do you think Worcester can keep growing and at the same time remain a welcoming place for families that call it home? And I'm starting with Mr. King, but again, every candidate will have a chance to respond to this.
Dude, this is the
I
same
think
question.
what we need to do is be more intentional in our governing. When we're looking at options for affordability, accessory dwelling units, you look at the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, you look at those sorts of measures as it relates to affordable housing, we have to vote the right way. It's one thing to sit up here and talk about it, but you actually have to vote the right way. And you know what? We have big time developers coming from outside of the city, coming from Boston. And I love Boston, but I love Worcester more. We have to make sure we maintain who we are and that we're allowing folks. We have right now a uptick in the unsheltered population of our elderly, folks trying to age in place. We have to be intentional about elderly housing. We have to work with our federal and our state partners. And it comes from the very top. We have to be engaging with those folks on a regular basis. And we are a welcoming city. We're a city for everyone. We're very diverse. But at the same time, we have to vote the right way. And we have to make sure, in addition to that, we're welcoming all of our youth and we have a place where people can work, because small businesses require a local workforce. And we have to be able to allow those folks to live here and work here.
Mr. Coleman, would you care to respond?
Well, we've been talking about Worcester having a renaissance for many, many years. And Worcester has gone through periods of times we had a renaissance. When they were first developing what we used to have here called the Worcester Galleria, we were going through a renaissance. That was in the early 70s. And then in the 80s, when we built the DCU Center, we talked about a Worcester renaissance. And, and it seems like while Worcester is further,
it's almost like there's a pattern of bullshit.
We have a renaissance going on with a brand new ballpark, which is a great investment in the future of Worcester. But the whole idea of affordable housing, as we've touched on within this renaissance, when you talk $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month rents, is not welcoming. So we have to renegotiate that whole concept of what renaissance means. We're a city of arts. We're a city of culture. We're a city now of new immigrants coming and establishing themselves in the city of Worcester. So I think what we need to do is really say, hey, how do we spread those renaissance by putting space in there to allow for more people to participate?
Mr. Kramer Jr.
So
Bill's
I came
suggesting
back
we
to the
redefine
city of Worcester
Renaissance
4
to
years
marry up
ago.
with
I
our
left for a
bullshit
couple of
lines.
years to go to school and to start the.
We need to have a
organization that I started down
concrete,
there.
actionable
When I came back to
suggestion
Worcester, the
tally.
question that I was asking myself was, who is the
Because it's at like
Renaissance
2 right
serving?
now.
The reality is we have made progress as a city. We have brought in folks into our city. But
What does
about
that
those that are
mean?
in our neighborhoods? Those that are looking at these new units come online and thinking, I can't afford to move in there. That is the type of conversations that I'm having with folks. That is what people want to talk about, is who is this Renaissance serving? So I served as the community lead organizer for the citywide planning project, first one in 40 years. And it was great to be on the ground, having the conversations with folks and really understanding from them, what are they looking for from our city? They've seen the revitalization, but they want to see it benefit them as well. And so it has, to an extent. So we need to start thinking about the fact that in order for us to move forward as a city, we really need to embrace the fact that the Renaissance is here, but it needs to be for everyone.
Mr. Petty, I'm going to
How?
come to you. But I want to give Ms. Calora, do you want to respond?
Yeah,
In what way?
Just
Jesus.
briefly, we have had a lot of economic
These
development
forums
and
are tough,
growth
man.
downtown and in the Polar Park district area. And when I'm on the ground and I'm talking to people and I'm
We
doing
got
outreach,
Travis
I do a
now. We're
lot
gonna
of
make the
that.
switch over in a second
Tubby,
here.
you're right.
People
And
talk about a
whenever
couple things.
Travis,
One
you
of
want
the
to switch it
things is
over when
affordability,
Amelia
and the
Donna
next thing
talking is a
is
okay.
streets. They're very,
He's not
very,
said
very
anything
upset
yet.
with the streets and the condition of the streets, conditions of the sidewalks. So when we talk about the Renaissance and we talk about bringing more things to the neighborhoods, we have to focus on what people value, and what a lot of people value is.
We're in tomorrow, the city council people should pay attention to
There
that,
we go.
because we want people to
Oh,
work and
shit.
live in the same city. We have free buses right now, and that will continue over the next year, so people can go to their jobs, can go to their doctors and to their appointments. I look at what we've done, and investment in our schools, those are all neighborhood investments. Those are all helping people. Our population went up from 180-something thousand to 206,000. People are coming here to the city of Worcester, and all demographics, and they're happy to be here in the city of Worcester. Doesn't mean we forget the most vulnerable people. We don't want people leaving the city of Worcester. We work hard every single day taking care of the most vulnerable people here in the city. We'll continue to work hard to take
It's
care
this
of the
we
most
shit.
vulnerable people. Listen, during COVID, we
Yeah.
fed thousands of kids who were in their homes, making sure they
We
got
throw out
fed.
their
We made
backpacks.
sure that
we
everybody
slap
get
their
connected
tents.
to the internet during
We're
that
working
period
hard.
of time. We ensured that we have public safety. We ensured their health needs. We ensured they were getting the proper cultural food here in the city of Worcester. We take care of most vulnerable. We will continue to take care of most vulnerable people as we succeed here in the city of Worcester. You got to remember, success brings
How?
tax revenues. Tax revenues is able to pay for the programs. Everybody here at this venue wants to spend their money on. So this is
Yeah.
important for
Tax
tax revenue.
revenue in
And
30
developers aren't the
years.
enemy.
Statistics
Really think of,
fire.
I'm sorry.
No, you
What are
can
you
finish
talking
finish
about?
No,
that
I
thought.
look at the developers. They're coming in here. They're slowed down since we passed inclusionary zoning. Maybe over time once they get used to it, it'll come down.
How long's it
But
been
listen, what are the interest rates
since
now?
we
5,
passed
7%,
inclusionary zoning? Less than 6 months.
Depending how you invest your money.
How the fuck
Whatever
could you say it's
investment, probably
slowed down
better
since
than
then?
real estate right now. Real estate is not the
Dude.
market. So developers might be able to put their money
Gotta cut you
elsewhere.
off there. Okay, I do
That's
want to
a
move through. I
rebuttal.
will. Quick response. Yeah.
Yes. Really quickly, I think that the mayor's right. There's a lot of good that's gone on. I'm happy to have been a part of that for the last almost decade. And I think when you talk about inclusionary zoning, you talk about, the interest rates going up and it's not really a market for that. We waited till 5,000 units were built before the leader of the city decided to get on board with affordable housing from a municipal perspective. And as far as the taxes go, I'm very
Truth.
proud to have voted every single year for a lower tax rate on our residents.
Gonna cut you off. If that's okay. We got to move on. We have
Sam's so
several questions to
uncomfortable
get into. Other questions that will take some time. Different topic. The Worcester Police Department. I think we can all agree it has been in the spotlight. The U.S. Department of Justice is investigating the department for excessive use of force and discriminatory
You're not
policing
supposed to ask
based on
these guys
race and
about that.
sex, and there continue to be lawsuits against the department for falsifying police reports and fabricating evidence. Most
Sam is like a
recently,
Marvel
now
character
former
that is
police
going to end up
chief
being a superhero,
Steve
but just
Sargent
hasn't stumbled
retired
into their
amid
origin story yet.
accusations of harassment and
You know he's got it.
inappropriate
It's there.
behavior.
Yeah.
Ms. Colorio, how do you plan to ensure that the police department is held accountable
Sam's great.
and that Worcester families
Agreed.
can trust it?
Okay, great question. So first and foremost, some of the things that you mentioned, like harassment and everything like that, that's really in the HR department. That has nothing to do with us, So I think the HR department will cover that. Then we have to make sure that we have the structure in place so that this is an equal opportunity, thing. Everything is handled properly. That's our job, is to make sure it's handled properly, because the last thing we want is, we don't want, all the things that you mentioned. We want our police force to be strong. We want
even the
them to
adults that
abide
would
by
vote for her
the
can't
rules,
be
and
serious when
we
she
have
says
to
shit
be
like
really
that.
careful
You
on
fucking kidding
being
me?
very thoughtful on how we go about things. So I think it is our job to make sure that things are done properly. Thank you.
But it's
I think
HR's job.
I
What?
disagree with Councilor Clorio. I think the reality is that it is our job to talk about the process when it comes to HR, but I also think it's our job to talk
What?
to the interim chief about the culture. I've already done
I think that was a
I'm on
shady
the
agree.
Human Rights Commission, and the Human Rights Commission has an intimate relationship with our Worcester Police Department. They come into our commission almost on a quarterly basis and talk to us about what they want to see in the future. And we talk to them about ensuring that we are pushing forward an equitable agenda for our city and its residents. And so I'm glad that I have a good and solid relationship with our police leadership, because I believe that's where it starts. But I believe that we have to push back as individuals that are elected officials to ensure that our police department is held to its highest standards, because what they are doing every day is not something that any of us can say we do. But ultimately, it's important for us to ensure that we are moving them and challenging them to ensure that they are creating an equitable city and really approaching things in a different manner.
I think our
How?
police department has been challenged, not only over the last couple of years.
I want Joe
but for
Petty's
many
voters'
years.
answer, not
There was
a
a lawsuit that went on for almost 25
what I
years.
think will be effective answer.
Regarding the lack of hiring and promoting very qualified members of the Black community who were police officers. And sadly, one of the police officers involved in that lawsuit died and never got to see, the end results of their hard work and the constant lawsuits and the court battles and so on and so forth. I'd like to see a new lens looked upon as a different type of public safety component for the city of Worcester. And that may include going down the road, the rebuilding of a brand new police station with a whole different mission than our current police station. I will support new classes
Right, it's the
coming in
building's
because we do
fault.
have a
He
lot of
wants a
police
cop
officers
city.
that are retiring. And I will support new classes coming into the police station, but I also will support having a series of public hearings throughout
You'll
this
support them
community,
hiring.
asking people how
Yeah,
they
like
feel
what?
about community. As an elected
You
official, if I
specifically
feel
say you
elected to the
support them
Worcester City
hiring new
Council,
people.
I will be putting forth
I
the
support
voice
this
of the
not being the
people
last
in
generation
matters
of police
of
officers in
the
this city. I
police
mean,
department
actually,
and city
actually,
administration.
it's good that
You know,
he
I'd
Hey,
like to
says that
see
because that's
something
kind of
down
how I
the road
feel.
where we hold these public hearings, even if it's
that's a fun
commission
idea. If
from
the city council
Yeah,
had any
study of
purview,
public safety in the
we are
city
not
of
going to
Worcester.
hire any more cops. We're just going to wait for them to
Yeah.
age
retire
them
out.
out.
You know, with regards to the concerns that you referenced, the office of the mayor is
Like when they
child
close an
abuse
elementary
concern.
school and just let the
I've rolled up my
kindergarten
sleeves and
class
I've gone
just
to
age
work.
out of it.
I've been part of community groups, and we brought forward equity audits that we requested on HHR. Human Resources, Worcester Police, Health and Human Services. I rolled up my sleeves and I went to work. I was meeting monthly for a couple of years, and I still meet with the diversity officers to try to recruit and retain a diverse workforce for Worcester Police Department. I think the important thing is that, police save lives. We call them when there's an emergency. Um, and when there's a concern, we should
Jack,
address it. The
just
mayor of
fucking
Worcester decides
wade back out of it,
who
Jack.
chairs
Don't
committees. We have a
don't be a
public safety
fucking idiot,
committee.
dude.
We have the legislative
Just
branch. The
god
public
damn.
safety committee has failed to
Oh,
conduct any
nice.
oversight hearings with regards to the concerns you brought forward. The mayor in our rules is able
Sick.
to chair any committee at any time that he or she feels necessary, and it simply hasn't happened. I support good policing, but I
Finally,
support
someone said that shit.
accountability. And I think we can continue to build, because police cannot solve crimes by themselves. It requires the intersection of police and community.
Let's keep it
That's
quiet,
something I
Jack.
support.
Just for now.
Just for your own sake,
Yeah, the mayor
shut
hasn't
the
been
fuck
silent
up.
on this issue. I met with the black families
I
together on a
think
regular
I've
basis
said to you
to
so many
discuss
times since
accountability
we've met.
standards that we produced
Hold
over
on,
a
hold
year
on, hold on.
ago.
I want to hear Joe's
Previous
answer
city
here.
manager. Those will never happen. Some of those accountability standards, some of those were 6-5 votes. And but what we'll get through the accountability standards, we're going to get an equity audit, which should be out pretty soon on the Worcester Police Department. We have a chief diversity officer that we just hired here in the Worcester Police Department. We have an appeals procedure. If people feel that they've been wrong, that's going to be out of City Hall currently right now. Our current chief believes in accountability and transparency. He has put up the
So sick
records
he didn't say
on
interim.
anybody who's been ticketed or arrested in the Worcester Police. They go up on the internet now. You can
Interims
see
are
those reports,
permanent in
those
this
police
city,
reports.
Bill.
So I think transparency is pretty good right now. And I think the chief's doing a good job getting out in the community, which he needs to be out in the community. It's not about dividing the city of Worcester. It's about supporting to get things done. I don't divide. I work quietly sometimes
Who's
in order to
dividing?
get things done. You can ask anybody in this community that I'm out there. I'm trying to be collaborative, because you can't get nothing done when you want to be in the end of a 8-3 vote every single time. So I support accountability.
You can't have
I continue to
principles.
support that going forward.
Mr. King, I will come to you. Just want to make, you didn't raise your, nobody else.
No, I'll just say that, I support the police. I support us fully funding their budget. I supported the police in the schools. I supported the Shot Spotter Connect. I really think they're doing a great job. And I think there's always room to look at things and evaluate and to get us.
No,
better
that's
together.
HR's job, Donna.
I
You
think the reality
fucking
is that we need to make sure that
dumb
we're
dumb.
electing individuals that want to work with everyone here. I think we need to establish a strong relationship between our police department and city council and really understand, how do we move our city forward in an equitable lens. I've been doing that on the Human Rights Commission over the last couple of years, and I'm excited to do it in a different capacity.
How?
Sure. I just want to reiterate that the equity audits that were referenced by the mayor was something that I, along with Black Families Together, brought to the mayor and the city manager, and we worked together with the chief on that. I also worked with the chief on the current school safety planning. So I've rolled up my sleeves and I've gone to work there. And I think the idea that I'm a former basketball coach in college, and I played it. And when people do well, we give them commendations. And when they don't do well, what we want to see is a report back to the council about how are you changing policy and procedures to be better. We can always be better.
Clunky sports analogy, but I'll let it ride.
Yeah, those were my meetings, along with the city manager's meeting. And that's why we got a lot of this stuff done.
Dude, these
Council
fucking
King
people
talks
have
about
no
supporting the
idea that
police.
no one
He
cares
asked
about
3
this
times
shit.
to cut their
It's
budget,
like
which included the police
so
classes.
bad at
He
this.
also
It's
voted
so crazy.
10-1
No
against
one remembers or cares who asked for what regarding an equity audit of
and-
the police
As you
department.
can see,
And
that the
try-harding,
assistant city
like saying like,
councilors
actually, there
have
was
their
my
own
idea.
lens on
Is
what they
like,
feel is
I did the
important
meetings.
and
Like,
what they
no,
think they've
everyone
done.
knows you
I
weren't
think this
like
the city
That was
for.
my
needs to
fever
elect new
dream.
people
Yeah.
to bring
So
new,
fucking
fresh
disconnected
ideas,
from the
a
public.
different
It's
lens
insane.
to how city
It's
operates
like
and
great.
looking
Like
at the police
I,
department. I mean,
I guess it's
really
just part
support
and parcel of
long-term
Worcester is that
within
like
the
people
next
that
few years
are
that we need to start looking
going
at
for the
building
biggest
a brand
like
new police
elected
station
positions in
and
the
a
city
public
have
safety
no
component
idea how to
for our
like
community.
brand
I think
themselves.
but he
Like,
specifically
and so
misrepresented
so
part
often.
of my record. And I would just like to say this. Always supported the police classes. You know, it's important that we have an appropriate amount of police on the streets. And, you know, we had a council that failed to vote on the police budget at all, despite my attempts to make them do so.
Okay. All right.
I did not change his record. He asked to cut the budget 3 times. Don Corio held those items, and he also voted against one of the budget, the police budget, on the 10-1 vote in the 21 budget season.
Okay. Moving
Great
on.
job remembering your Oppo research,
so-
Joe.
This next question is a two-parter. A two-parter involving climate change.
Are they-
Research shows
Are they arguing?
Go ahead, sorry.
research shows the warming planet is driving
Suck my
more
dick.
extreme weather
Suck
in
my
our
dick.
region,
Fucking kill you,
which
dude.
we saw this summer with heavy rainfall and flash flooding,
I give you a fucking swirl.
fueling questions about Worcester, about whether
Sam really has great hair.
and its infrastructure.
It's immaculate. In person, it shines.
More
It's
intense
like,
Seriously.
weather
Yeah.
events. For you, Mr. Coleman, we know that Worcester, the city already has its Green Worcester plan, which is a
cast this
roadmap
guy
to
in a
climate
movie about a
change, but
complicated,
what
young,
will you
struggling
do
novelist.
to
That's
ensure
what I'm
Worcester
saying.
stays climate ready, and how do you think the city can take more steps in the near term to reduce emissions?
I think by having an open public conversation with the community, series of community meetings,
Oh,
and
yeah.
starting at the
Big time
senior
Andrew
center,
Garfield
at the
energy.
Worcester Public Library, invitations for people to write into the city of Worcester,
Yeah.
say, how do you
Public
see
meetings
Worcester
will
in this
reduce
whole
emissions.
area of climate change?
We just need more of
You
those.
know, how do we
Yeah.
see Worcester? You know, when I saw all the rain
Also
coming in,
enjoy
so
that
many
they
weekends
made
of
Sam put
constant
a
rain,
trash
and I
bag
looked at
over
our
his computer
drains,
so that they
you
didn't show
know,
the
are
Apple
we
logo.
able to handle it down at our water filtration plant? You know, is the public informed? What can we do to think globally and act locally?
I'm going to guess
on
it's a
and
fiber product.
educating ourselves and our children in our public schools. Are we calling for climate change discussions?
Sam is
you
in
know,
danger
our
of making
schools,
the stream
our
thirsty
schools?
for
Are we
him like
asking our
they
high
are for
school
Nico.
students to come out with ideas? Are we having contests in this community? Are we
It's a
asking our
rare
city
day that a truly hot guy
we need
comes
to
through
start
the
asking
stream.
those questions and
And we don't let it
laws
pass, you know.
enforced
Yeah.
Sam, what are you
Yeah.
doing on Tuesday nights?
Yeah.
the
We need
council,
I think we
and
need
then
to
have the council
establish,
have,
you
its
know, a
discussion on
leaderboard of stone cold
liaison with the
hotties.
city manager,
Right.
and then asking for the city manager to say, what do you need? We got $150 million during COVID. What part of that money went down to looking at, you know, our future?
We got a lot of merch backed up. You guys got to
I
buy
don't
that
know.
first.
Care to respond?
Yeah, sure. So I'm looking through it through my common sense lens again, and I think that, you know, with the Worcester
Common sense lens.
Green Deal, we have to, first of all, I think we have to review this plan
have to
as we go
balance
along, like
having a clue
you know,
with
Bill
not having
mentioned.
a clue.
We do have
and
to get the
then
community
just
involved
find,
and say, okay,
find the
we've
middle
done
ground.
this so far. Has it benefited us?
Wow,
Has it been
Eric.
cost
Eric
effective?
owns
Are we ready
multiple
for the next step?
shirts from
I
this
think
show.
when
This
when we
guy.
look at the
Saw the
different
hazard shirt in
goals that are
person. So sick.
listed
Oh,
in this proposal, we find that some of them may not be real, might be unrealistic, and we have to maybe slow down and say, okay, so it won't be, you know, 2030, it might be 2035. So I think reviewing of the process periodically readjusting and understanding if these goals.
It's so
are
sick that Donna
realistic.
just said she's going to slow down any policy,
Yeah.
regardless of
Yes,
absent any specific policy.
You know,
She's just
I
like, we got to
think
slow it all
overall,
down.
in my profession, you
Fucking
have to
Colin
abide
Robinson
by
ass
every
answers
state
are
regulation. And
draining
I support
my
the
will to
regulation
live.
plan. I think
This
We
is
that
might
tough.
find that the planet is burning less in Worcester in a couple of years, so we can put some of this on the back burner.
As appropriate. I'm very proud that I stood up and I was leading on the stretch code and having a shorter time frame to realize that option to make Worcester greener. I think the idea of civics is important. I met with a group of students over at Forest Grove, and they had ideas and options. And I think that, partnering, we have a committee that partners with education. We should be partnering with our schools and our educators and educating folks about this. Civics is extremely important. And I think what we have to continue to do, if it's housing, if it's inclusionary zoning, whatever it is, that we look at the research and not rely on anecdotes.
Mr. Kramer.
So, when we talk about climate, we really talk about the future of the city. I'm the youngest
Mr.
person
Anecdote.
here, and the reality is that I am only 2 years younger than the average resident of the city of Worcester.
Right.
And so we need
Wow,
to
he's
think
so
about
young.
that. And we need to put on
Yeah.
that lens
Right.
to ensure that we're creating a greener Worcester. And the problem when we say green
Oh,
is that
what
many
do we do about climate change?
equals
My
expensive.
identity.
And we need to get rid of that. We need to start embracing the fact that it'll get more expensive if we don't take action now. Our infrastructure is not ready. Every single time it's raining out, we know which roads get flooded. We all know at this point because we live in the city. We're out and about and we see what roads are getting flooded. And so our infrastructure isn't keeping up. And we have to make sure that we're building towards the future because this weather is only going to get worse. And so I don't want to bring, I don't want my husband and I to bring a child into this world where everything is just a mess and the infrastructure isn't going to keep up.
And
So
the
when I
Florio
think about a greener Worcester, I'm thinking about my future, my soon-to-be kids' future. That's the type of lens that I think we need in order to push green Worcester forward.
how?
Yeah, sure. The Worcester Green Plan is an important plan. We started that several years ago by 2035.
How about no one for mayor?
Some of those requirements. And my kids will tell me, Dad, you got to take care of us. This is the most important issue after affordable housing. Just probably just as an issue. When we started the infrastructure improvements here in the city of Worcester, I put the Route 20 task force together to improve the infrastructure there, which created some flooding issues. It made sure those flooding issues went away. It also created parcels of land for development. We also planted
Right.
a number of trees, especially which needs to be done
Famously,
throughout the city of
development
Worcester,
for
especially in
climate
the core of the city of Worcester. That's environmentally sound. We have the Worcester Next plan, the Streetscape plan, which talks about equity and sustainability to make sure that our environment is sustained, that we can put these improvements in to make our city more greener, more amenable to what's going on in the climate here in the city of Worcester.
You couldn't write
A lot of
something this
infrastructure
stupid.
changes. We decreased the flooding of the streets.
These
Some of the
answers
streets
are
get flooded.
unreal.
But in these last several storms, if you notice, there's a huge difference right now in the city of Worcester, the way it handles the water flow here in the city of
I mean,
Worcester.
we saw just what happened up north.
Yes.
In our
Yep.
neighbors up north.
Yep.
I'll come back
Canada.
to you, Mr. Coleman. Would you care to add anything?
The only thing I want to, what I want to say is when people see when the rain comes and, we saw it all the summer, all I saw was trash
Also
coming
sounds
down
like
the
lyrics.
streets through the piles and through the literally rivers of water. And people want a very clean, safe neighborhood.
Let's talk of
a
rain.
clean,
This sounds
safe
like an
city.
umbrella
So
problem.
all that we can do to each individual clean up the city of Worcester.
We need a
and
big umbrella
let
to cover the whole
city know
city.
on an immediate basis, and that 311 number when there's flooding, where there's flooding, so the city can keep track of
We're
what
so
it
fucked.
needs to put it where it needs to put its attention. I think that will be very important for the folks in this community.
Would either of you?
No,
like
I'm
to
all
add
set.
anything?
No, I think I just want to elaborate. Councilor King touched on this. We need to listen to our youth. Our young people are the ones that have been leading this for a while now. And so we need to understand that even though there's an 8th or 7th grader that has an idea, they should have a seat at the table to actually talk to us about these ideas because they're the ones that are going to inherit all of this. So we have to make sure we're uplifting our youth.
There are real fucking policies out there
Sam,
that you could
I
do
think
right
one of the
now.
things that I hear out there.
You don't have to listen to a fucking 8th grader. Jesus Christ, dude. This
Wouldn't it be awesome if the whole city was just Twitter, though?
concerns regarding a green economy and a green Worcester. I think one of the things that we can do as a city is promote publicly what the green economy will do to lift us up and increase our tax base. We have to make sure our trades are ready to move into that new economy, make sure our young people in our vocational schools and in regular schools are ready for that economy, because it's going to lift us all up. It's going to make us healthier, and it's going to increase the tax.
Oh, yeah. When the Green New Deal passes, right.
Okay. We only have about
when the
15
Green New Deal gets through Congress, right? Yeah, there'll be a total
see how
new
many more
green
questions
economy.
we can get
Wow.
to. Mr. Kramer, this next one is for you. As you all know, Worcester has a form of government in which the city's manager serves as the CEO, making everyday decisions. City council, including the mayor, is responsible for holding the manager accountable by hiring
ought to
and
be
firing them. Residents around Worcester, again, this is no secret, they've expressed a desire that because the city manager is not democratically elected, they shouldn't have so much power. And these people would like the city to change its charter so that Worcester adopts a form of government more like that of Boston
These people meaning
and
me.
Providence, where the mayor is the CEO. Now, city council would potentially be involved in that process of changing the charter. Mr. Kramer, how would you feel about such a change?
So I've probably been one of the most vocal individuals up here with the fact that I think Plan E isn't working for Worcester. I think the reality is we're the second largest city in New England. I do not think that the form of government that we currently have actually helps our residents. I think our city manager is a good individual. I think he's doing a good job. And this isn't about the city manager. This is about the form of government. And to me, we have to make sure that we are democratically electing those that want to be in power. I'll say this outright. If I'm elected as mayor, first day, what I will say in my inaugural speech is we will move to have this review, because we have to do that. And so I've been unapologetic about the fact that Plan E doesn't make sense. And the reality is when you talk to the average resident here in the city of Worcester, they don't know that we have a Plan E form of system. And so so we live in a bubble where we know that this is the case. And we normally are around folks that understand we have a city manager. But the average resident who is not paying attention, who is not focused on the news, they don't know that we have that type of government. And so they don't understand the logistics of it. So my hope is that the 2 years that I'm in there, we're shifting towards that direction. Now, I'm not saying that I want to be the strong mayor of Worcester, but I want to be the individual that spearheads us into that direction, because I believe that that's only going to.
Now we got to know how much everyone can bench press.
Well, I believe, we first elected.
Jack, you run your mouth about everything else, but being coy about this. Tell us what the split is.
We had a so-called strong mayor form of government. We had a board of aldermen. We had a common
promise to
council,
never knock on a
39
single
members,
fucking door.
and
More
Plan E
sensitive
works
knuckles.
for the city of Worcester. Plan E works for what we have. In
I won't even order at a
1983,
restaurant.
we changed our charter a couple of different times. And if you want to change the charter, you got to collect 15,000 certified signatures to put a question on a ballot, unless you go home rule petition, which is a whole different ball game. But in 1983, we added district city councilors, and that was to give the folks more of a chance. What we need to do with our current form of government is
backwards?
to add
Didn't they take
if we
the
do a home
district
rule
city
petition,
councilors?
to add
Oh, wait,
term
never mind.
limits
Sorry.
to the city council.
Thinking of the bicameral.
Every 4 terms, you take a year off and then you come back again. That would infuse more and newer ideas on our city council. Our city council is stagnant. And although we're getting a lot of things done, the mayor's the most accessible mayor that we've had. And I've seen a lot of mayors over the years.
Speaking of
that
idiots
we've
on
had
Twitter,
city
everybody
councilors who are out in the
call the Worcester
community,
Housing
they're
Authority
meeting
and
with
tell them to
people, they're
fire
bringing their voice back,
Walter
but
Bird
the ideas are not translating. And our
being
city
a dullard.
manager, Eric Batista, is doing a great job. 9 years waiting in
So
the wings,
vindicated
and he finally
in
gets a
it
chance to
too.
become city
Like
manager.
so
There was
sure
some
that
confusion
he's
and
right.
some
Yeah.
inner and outer fighting on the council
Awesome.
on that, but he's doing the job. And I think there's other ideas that we can implement in the future.
Hey,
that
Walter,
will help
which side has been
appreciate
maintaining the
this
open air
valuable
prison for
tool
17
we call
years?
Plan E form of government.
Fucking throwing around
So
bullshit.
first of all, I look at other cities that have a strong mayor, and I say, hell no. I just think that
Dude, that's
we
awesome.
have
What a
the
quote,
Plan
Donna.
E. I think it works for us.
Can we clip that,
Now, whether
please?
we want to expand it or not, or we want to, tweak it a little bit, I'm for that. If we want to open up the charter and we want to look at some of the
My
things.
biggest thing
But
with
I think
Walter
this
is like
Plan
whatever
E
you
does
think,
work.
like
Now,
whatever,
I
you can
look
be
at
wrong,
other,
you can be right, whatever you
cities or
think,
towns
like
that have,
the
like we
stupidity
mentioned,
with
before,
which he
20 or
puts
30
things
city
and the way
councilors.
that he
So
argues with
maybe the
people
expansion
is
of more
just
city
like
councilors, especially
so
for
galling to
the
me
amount
that
of
we
people that
pay
we
him
represent,
money.
it's sometimes overwhelming.
Unreal.
So maybe that would be an option. I mean, I would be open for that, but I think that right now our Plan E form of government works well. And I think that, if we had a little bit more help, I
Also,
think
the
that
fact
would
that it's like purely
There
weirdly
seems to be
political for
quite a bit
him.
of
He's not saying
disagreement on
anything
this
because he
issue.
cares deeply
Mr.
about it.
Kramer, I will let you.
Right. It's all
Before I come
in
to you
some weird bad faith.
if you
Yeah.
want to
Sure.
rebut
I mean,
anything.
look, I think Plan E doesn't help certain counselors, which is why ultimately that is not the direction that folks want to go in. I mean, respectfully, I am the freshest face at this table. There have been city
Freshest
councilors
dressed,
that are
too.
here. There's a mayor that we've had for 12
Fresh to
years.
death.
And Bill Coleman has been an activist since the 70s here in the city and is well known for that. And so ultimately, what I'm pushing us for is a new direction. And I think that that's something that we need to embrace. And so Plan E does push for low voter turnout. And that's just how it relates.
No, wait.
Mr. Petty.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, we could do. I've talked about it. We haven't reviewed the charter in almost 40 years. So the mid 1980s, we did a charter review, a charter commission. If people want to take this seriously, you have to do a charter commission. You bring the community in to be part of that charter commission. In my mind, the planning form of government has proven very successful here in the city of Worcester.
Yeah, because you've gotten to hire whoever you fucking want, dude.
You've been on top of the mountain for 20 years.
The investments in our neighborhoods, the investments in our downtown area, in our business community. It's about people. It's about who's in charge as the mayor.
What the fuck does the
who's the
system
city
of government
manager,
have to do
how
with
do they get along?
investments?
I changed that dynamic when I became mayor of the city of Worcester, almost becoming a partnership. Before it was always an adversarial relationship back in the 80s and the 90s between the mayor and and the city manager. And people
Oh, because
sometimes
they were
didn't know who
holding
was
him
in charge
accountable?
and that type of
Jesus
government.
Christ.
'Cause
Like,
everybody was doing their own thing. So
Because they were doing Plan E how it was supposed to work?
making sure that
Jesus
the
fuck,
manager's
dude. This
successful,
is
making sure the city
pathetic.
council's successful, and making sure the city's successful. But if people want
What
a
does successful
charter commission,
mean?
we should. There's a lot of things that people want to change in the charter, just besides the form of
Yeah,
government.
I think everybody
But
should
that
absolutely
charter,
vote for
that
Guillermo
probably could be reviewed
for
anyway.
at large,
Mr. King, I'm
100%.
gonna
I
come
think he'd
to
make
you.
him
We have 10
a
minutes
really
left.
good city councilor. I don't think there's
I'm gonna
any
try to
question
squeeze
about
in
that.
another question. I'll let you,
Yes.
Mr. King. I'll
My
let you.
answer won't take 10 minutes.
It's all fine.
Um,
Everyone's fine.
so,
Vote for whoever you want. Doesn't matter.
we are the legislative branch. City manager is the executive branch, and it requires oversight. It requires that we hold the city
Looks like
manager
we're
to account. For
frozen.
this system to work,
I'm
we
good.
have to do
I'm good on my end,
exactly
Brett.
that.
Yeah,
You
our
know, there's
viewer
often a
count dropped,
reticence
and everyone in the
around
comments is
doing that.
saying,
Mayor Petty has.
"Are we back? Everybody, let me know if we're back."
City
Yeah, looks
manager.
like we are.
City had other challenge relationships prior to that. The one thing I do know from my experiences in governing for close to a decade is that the democratic process does require tension sometimes. It requires sharing different thoughts. And I think what community is looking for right now during these times is accountability. And the community feels like they do not have accountability in this current model. I certainly would support
I'm so sorry.
exploring, a strong mayor. I can tell you that I will never be a weak mayor. I will never be a ceremonial mayor when elected. And I will lead. I will lead with intention, and I'll put our people first and make sure, once again, that we don't become Boston. I love Worcester.
Ms. Glorio, I want to give you a chance to respond.
Boston have to do with this.
I really don't have more to add, but
Boston
like
catching
I said
strays over
before,
here.
it works for Worcester right now. If we could, look at it, there's certain parts of the charter that I think need to be reviewed, and if we can do that, I would be in favor of that.
One last response. Anybody?
Just for
Quick?
clarification,
Yes.
quickly, as quickly mentioned, the city council can vote to put it on the ballot. We have the ability to do that. It doesn't require all the signatures. If that was the will of the council, elections matter.
Okay.
Just real quick,
Yeah.
that's non-binding.
Yeah.
And that would be a great idea to survey the community, but you need how many city councils would vote to put a non-binding question on the ballot, just to survey the people of Worcester.
I just want to say one.
Come forward a few
Yeah,
times
yeah. I
asking
mean,
for
I'm
non-binding
definitely
questions
not.
for us.
I am definitely opposed to
Sam's lost
putting
control.
it on the ballot as a city councilor, as I was opposed to put the CPA tax on as well. We need the public buy-in. We talk about accountability.
So
we
you
talk about
don't want it
engaging
on the ballot
the
because
public,
you
and
want
then we go
public
behind
buy-in?
the public's back and we put it on the ballot like we did with the CPA tax.
Pay her.
No, I'm definitely not for that. What we have to do
What?
is we have to get
What?
Behind the
50,000
public's
signatures,
back,
and we have to
but
work
putting
hard,
it on
and
the
we have to get it on. And then
Does
once
she
it gets
believe
on
the
the
bullshit
ballot,
she's
then we
saying,
have
or she just
1,000 people
like
that vested
roller
in the
skating on
process right
ice?
off the bat.
Like,
Yeah, we'll get it done.
And I'd just
Anybody
like to
else?
respond. It's not a sense of a weak mayor or a weak council. It's sort of a strong city council when you have 6 votes. But you remember one thing too.
Collectively, they can
City
bench press a
manager
fair
runs the
amount.
city. The superintendent runs the schools. What the mayor does is try to coordinate the 2 parties to get things done to make sure the city moves forward.
Okay, we do have
and
to move on,
Really,
Mr.
really
K.
quick, but really quickly, I
We're
mean,
gonna
we need the
full-time?
public to know that the city
Yeah,
It's
we
so
also
sick.
council
Sam
provides
cannot control. Sam cannot herd these cats.
manager.
Mr.
They are accountable to the elected body.
Mr. Petty mentioned schools, and I think that's a good segue for this final question. One of the
Oh,
overlooked
thank
duties
goodness.
of Worcester Mayor, as you know, Mr. Petty, is serving on the Worcester School Committee and helping manage an annual district budget of
Trainer,
$500 million.
I didn't want to have to correct you. I'm
If
glad you did
elected,
an edit.
what will be your priorities for Worcester School District? And I have nobody to direct this question to. This is a free for all. So,
All right.
yes, Mr.
This is a free for all.
I think what we need to do is we need to look at our schools. We're building new schools in Worcester. We
Look
need
at
to
'em.
continue to build more new schools in
They're right
Worcester.
there.
Look at the kids.
Massachusetts is
Not too long
Look
ago.
at
bragging
'em.
about the
Walk
amount of
up,
money they've
stare at
gotten
'em.
to refurbish
Watch
some
them
of
grow.
their
Ask them questions.
old antiquated infrastructures.
Well,
And as
you know,
mayor, I would be
depending on
one
how you vote
not
in
only
D1,
to
then somebody's
fight
mentor is trying to
for
do
new
that.
schools,
So
but to go to Boston, to
Oh,
sit
man.
on that education committee, to lobby for more funding for studies for new schools. We need a new school.
what
at the
I'm
bottom
saying
of
is
the-
John
of
Manfredo
the,
was credibly
Grafton
accused
Street
of rape.
School, the oldest
That's
school in the city of Worcester.
if anybody
East
didn't
Middle,
know, and
we need
that's
to get more
Dave
funding
Peterson's
to
mentor.
either
That's in
revamp,
case anyone didn't know
or
what I was saying.
replace those
Just Google
older
John Manfredo in
infrastructures.
1997.
And as mayor, I would be a strong voice that will address that issue.
Score.
Thank you. So as a former school committee member, 2 terms, I can tell you what I voted for because that's facts. Like I can tell you what I voted for, so you know.
Yo,
that
that's
this is what
facts,
I
bro.
advocated for. And what I advocated for was
That's
always
hella
frontline
facts, bro.
educators, teachers, IAs.
Facts.
So when the budget came, we have line item
It
discretion.
wasn't
as
sex
a
Right.
ed.
council. So we
It's
could
a
ask
legacy.
for,
It's a family
we need to take
business.
this amount of money in administration and put it towards teachers.
And let me just
IAs.
say,
And that's exactly what I
Manfredos,
did, and that's
sue me,
exactly what I
please.
supported. I never
please.
did anything but that because I believe that
I
the key
agree.
to
You
good
should sue me.
education is in the quality
Oh yeah.
of our
Yeah, yeah,
teachers,
yeah.
and our
A
teachers are the most
pederast.
important thing. And I really believe that that's what I would focus on. Thank you.
Councilor King has his hand up first.
Thank you. As a social worker, I've worked within those public schools and with those public schools for close to 30 years. I have a firsthand view of all the challenges our educators have and the needs of the families and the children that attend our schools. One of the things that I would prioritize is what I've done in the past, that is work towards ensuring social emotional development and opportunities for our kids. We need to have more nurses, more social workers, more psychologists, more after-school program. We have to educate our children, not just during class, but after school as well. I'm proud to have brought back middle school sports in the city of Worcester. We can't have our educators,
Did you do that?
our police, even
Yeah.
officers,
Yeah,
or
it was,
fire folks, or
Like
people
20,
that work in the
2018,
city,
2019.
going somewhere
yeah.
else because of a better
I
salary,
read about it. Worcester Magazine.
better
I
working
remember.
conditions,
He
more
really led that
resources.
charge.
I supported the Fair Share Amendment. One of the first things I would do is what's our fair share of money from that particular matter. I fought for making sure
Well,
that
good thing the
you know, we have
state
the
legislature
proper
got rid of
funding.
that entirely.
Yes.
Gotta
No
cut
more
you off
fair
there.
share.
So
in a
just
few
but
seconds.
just the last thing,
Yeah.
again, I'm a father of 3 girls.
Yep.
2
Of
of
course,
whom,
Sam.
Gotta
one
get
of
that
whom
in there.
graduated from Worcester Public Schools. My current daughter is in dual language programming.
See, Sam
we
didn't
have to
establish
are
dominance
educated
early
for
on, and now they aren't
So
respecting
I'm a
it.
product. I'm a product of our public schools. You know, I attended Elm Park. I learned English in our school system, and so I'm proud to have been endorsed by the EAW. And the reality here is that our teachers are struggling. They
For
are
mayor?
yearning for us to pay attention. I'm so glad you brought this up, even though it's the last question we have. One of the reasons why I ran for mayor was because of the excitement of chairing the school
He
committee.
wasn't
You know,
endorsed for
being
mayor.
the school committee and really ensuring that our
Wait,
public
who by
schools
who?
have someone who is
The
committed to
EAW.
ensuring that we're
Oh no, for
increasing the
at
budget
large,
for our
right?
schools
Yeah.
because we haven't in years. And so the fact that we are doing the bare minimum for our schools is already a step in the wrong direction. And so we have to elect someone who is committed to creating a 5-year plan to really increasing that number over the next few years. Because it's not just about building new schools, because we're not going to be able to build every new school for the city. But we have to make sure that the quality inside of our classroom walls also reflect what we care for the future for the city. Mr. Petty.
Yeah,
So
one of the
they
prides
they
I
went with
have
the
here in
anybody
Worcester
but
Schools,
Joe
I think that the schools are going in the right
method
direction. We've
of
already
Has Sam
endorsement.
Turkin thought about getting involved in politics?
She's putting in the systems in
Yeah,
place.
with hair like that, God.
He's a great mayor.
The schools currently right now. And if you look at the
With hair like that,
one of
he
the things
walks
I'm
out,
very
he says,
proud
I'll
of is
never
Student
defund the
Opportunity
police.
Act.
He's a shoo-in.
I pushed that. I threatened a lawsuit. We got
Watch
Michael
out, Robin
Angelini
Kennedy,
from
you know what I
Dewey
mean?
to be volunteers for us. Well, how much we got out of that? $100 million over a 6-year period. I'm very proud that we gave our teachers, all our educators, our paraeducators, a good contract, a very good contract. One of the
Wow,
best
Sarah,
contracts
don't let him
we've
hear
ever
you say
seen.
that.
Keep them here because we're
Oh,
competing with
Yeah.
other districts throughout the city of Worcester.
you're
That's harsh.
proud
My priority
of
is
that?
also build a new Burncoat High School. I promised
You
3
did
high
that
schools before I
willingly,
leave
Joe?
office. I got 2 of them done. I want 1 more plus East Middle, and also look at all the infrastructure. I'm proud of the direction of the Worcester Public Schools. I want to thank Molly McCullough for also really working hard to make sure we get middle school sports done here in the city of Worcester.
Mr. Coleman, you
Wow.
Mr. Chairman.
Giving
No,
credit.
Giving
like,
credit to someone else.
Giving credit to somebody else.
Oh, well,
It's a saucy move.
we are going to wrap it up. Unfortunately, we are not doing closing statements.
then I'll take my time.
Well, try to stick to this question.
Sure.
And whoever, Mr. King, I'll come to
He
you. but
said
we are
lying.
Wrapping it up, but let's
I'll
stick
try.
to this question.
No
What is
promises.
the question, Ken? So that the folks-
It's about serving on the school committee, chairing the school committee, and what your priorities will be.
my priorities as if elected mayor and to opportunity to serve on the chair, I will
Ridiculous question.
imitate what our current mayor has done. He's been with the parents, with the community.
Wait,
He's been the voice of a lot of folks that are intimidated by the whole school committee process. Including
You mean Bill
people, and
Shaner, right?
I would just mirror
Clearly.
that
yeah,
and expand it a little bit more to involve more students to give them a voice at the table, because I haven't seen that and talked to those student government
crazy
leaders
move to be like, I'll just do
more
exactly what the guy who
proactive
gets more
and
votes than me
listen
does.
to their concerns about public education.
You know what?
Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
I don't even need to be here.
King?
Sure. I just want to reiterate the Student Opportunities Act. I advocated on Beacon Hill with NAACP and other folks, making sure that we got our funding. The mayor absolutely led on that as well.
Well, he's
And we
getting
appreciate
robbed
that.
because
One of the
Coleman
other
has
things
zero
I think
money
that we need to
in
focus
his
on is
campaign.
our staff. I've worked for the last 3 years with diversity officer on recruiting and diversifying our staff, making sure that discipline is not disproportionate in any way. And I think that part of economic
We should
development
run
is
on
making sure we have a good,
a book
thorough,
on
and robust school
Bill Coleman
system.
votes this year.
And
Peg the over under
that's
at
something
1,000.
that will always be a priority.
Last call, yes.
One issue, and I think Congressman brought it up too, is
Sam's freaking out.
diversifying
He's got a
the
floor director
educational
just off
Yeah.
camera.
paraeducators that reflect the students that they're teaching. We're in the process of doing that now with Worcester State University, Worcester Community College, to make sure that people go into the teaching field here in the city.
I have to respond to that because
Okay, quick, because I'm gonna come back to that.
program was not effective in diversifying the staff in
stop.
terms. No, we're talking about the Worcester State program that was going on previously. I worked with the Worcester Public Schools on that issue. And lastly, one of the
Yes.
other priorities is on how we're maintaining.
I don't think I need to
our
watch another
buildings.
mayoral debate
That
after this.
particular
Nah, I
strategy
think we're
master
good.
plan has not been
We're going to finish this one.
I'm going to add one more
We'll
thing.
finish with you too.
The
Okay,
last 5 years
so,
ago.
so one of the things that I advocated for on Beacon Hill is to eliminate the MCAS, and I'm very strong about standardized testing and how that has really played a part in maybe kids not getting the best
It
education
is hilarious
possible
that
because
Donna is
feel
solid on that
updated
one.
to teach the test. So I've done it before. I've advocated for it.
Like,
and I
you
will
know,
The worst
continue to
person you know
advocate for
just
that
made a
as well.
good
I think the
point.
last
Yeah.
I'll say is ultimately
She's
our
like
bilingual
been
program
solid on that
resources
since
and
I've
tutoring.
known.
You know, I
her
learned
as a
English in our
politician.
public schools, and I'm proud of that. And I know that there are so many students that are learning English in our public schools, and so we got to make sure those
I
resources
thought he
are
got
there. I'm looking
excommunicated
forward
for going to the
serving
nativity
as
school.
mayor and chairing that school committee.
That'll be a wrap. Unfortunately, we could continue, but that's a wrap. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Thank you all viewers for
Oh
tuning
yeah,
in.
Bill. Yeah, his
The only
one
thing we can
sign.
say is go out and vote November
So
7th.
sick.
Go out and vote. Thank you so much.
Deadline to there's the crew. Deadline to register to vote is October 28th. Look
Dang.
at this. Look at this congenial relationship. And there we go. That's the debate, everybody. Did anybody learn anything?
No.
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 That was remarkable how little of substance was talked about there.
This is trouble. This is not. This is whatever you think about the strategy that everyone has employed. This is not the read on the situation. Guillermo is actively trying to just like court people that would vote for Joe Petty. He's trying to. That may seem like he's like their strategy wouldn't be to answer the questions the same way unless you were trying to go for the same people. Like he's actively trying to say like I'm much younger and I'm diverse and but I still am safe like Joe Petty. So
right. Yeah, we saw that pretty clearly. Every single answer was just a pitch to talk about his identity bona fides. Is how he pretty much started every answer. And then really weird back and forth between Petty and King a couple times, squabbling about like the most minute little processes of city council that like no one outside of them knows anything about.
No,
and
you're not going to convince anybody on that.
Right. And like Joe Petty's pitch to voters was very clearly like, I've never been on the wrong side of a split vote. Which
I've never been on the side on a side.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's absolutely crazy.
I am the fence.
Yeah. That's true. All of his, if you see any of his campaign signs, they're only on people's fences. They're straddling all fences. That is a condition that he requires if you're gonna, take a sign or have one dropped off, even though you didn't ask for it.
Yeah. The only thing that we learned from that was that Sam Turkin needs more screen time.
Mhm.
We got to learn out about his hair care routine.
Mhm.
We need to get him on the show, although that would never ever happen.
He's too smart for that.
He's too smart for that, which makes him hotter
Yeah.
to me. So that's our new area of focus. Is let's get Sam Turkin in front of the camera more often.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, listen, I think we got a couple weeks to go. People, if you haven't sent in your ballot already, I think you've learned everything that you need to learn just by paying attention for this hour.
Yeah, you learned so much. Yeah. I look for a series of election guides coming out on Worcester Sox in the next couple of weeks. I have them sort of lined up for leading up to the election, and very hard right now to kind of see that this moment is legitimately exciting and that what could happen, because shit like that is so hard to watch, but like it's true, it's real. There's something legitimately cool that could happen here. So
yeah. I mean,
I'll try to make that case.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to do on the show as well over the next few weeks. I think we have a very, very solid slate of at-large candidates to vote for, irrespective of the districts. I think depending on what district you live in, but there's a strong 6-person slate of at-large candidates to vote for, and you can completely leave out, as Jess coined it, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Toomey, Bergman, Calorio, and Petty can just be left off your ballot. You don't have to hold your nose and vote for any of them. So remember that when your ballot shows up or when you go to the ballot box. And remember that you have to vote specifically for mayor afterwards. You have to vote for the same person you want to be mayor. You have to vote for them and at large, and then you have to vote for them for mayor. So just remember that. And if you're not registered to vote, do that by the 28th. And tell your friends, tell anybody that's under 40 to register to vote. Because if they're under 40 and they live in Worcester, then they probably are cool. And if they're not cool, then they live in Holden. So we're good. We're all good. Yeah, I mean, we're going to be back tomorrow night, so we don't have to do the whole rundown as usual, but make sure that you're subscribed to worcestersucks.email, Worcestersucks, and I love it. Make sure that you're following us at WCT3000, and make sure that you're like cool like Eric Stratton. You buy multiple shirts from WCT3K.storeenvy.com. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night. We'll talk about more of this. I'm sure we'll get some reactions from everybody. I did want to say as well, though, that on November 3rd, we are back with the Sort of Late Show with Sean Connolly. Wooten Andy has a show at Off the Rails. Bill's going to be one of our guests. Jenny Pasillo is going to be the other guest. We got some great bands. And Sean Connolly is carrying around physical tickets for the show. You don't have to worry about fees. You don't have to worry about paying at the door. If you can find him and tackle him, then you get to get a ticket without paying fees. So make sure that you pull him to the ground. He has to, his shoulders have to touch the ground, and then you can pay him for a ticket with no online fees. Yeah. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We love you guys. Thanks for dealing with our technical difficulties, and of course, everybody, shout out to Travis. F's in the chat for Travis, and make sure you send him a DM. Send Travis a DM that you appreciate him and that you love him. Bye, Molly. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys this Tuesday because we're back tomorrow night for the city council meeting. All right, everybody. Bye. We love you.